So, welcome to the Start Your Journey Foundations of Your Astrological Natal Chart Beginner Workshop. So, today we're going to go over the elements and your sun, moon, rising. So, we're going to keep things really, really basic and simple. And I like to start off with the elements because it can give you a way to connect to astrology without using any astrological terms or language, and just sticking to the four elements, which I think we all know. But before I get into that, here's just a quick breakdown of your chart labeled, just in case you have questions and you've never seen a chart before and you're like, what do all these things mean? So I like to describe it as there's a little X in the middle here when you pull your chart from astro.com. And I say that that's you standing in the middle of your chart, staring up at the sky, looking at the snapshot of the exact moment you were born, sort of just staring at all these different planets, which are these little icons here that are labeled. They're all in different zodiac constellations, which are labeled on the outside wheel. And then all these different triangles, or what I call pizza slices, those are the houses. Those are all labeled by numbers 1 through 12. And so the chart that you pull for the exact moment of your birth never changes. That's the snapshot, the exact moment you were born. It doesn't change. But in as we go down the layers of astrology and in advanced topics, you can compare your chart to like the chart of any given moment and compare and contrast what's going on. But this never changes because I do get asked that a lot. And then your information will be at the top. And then down here at the bottom, we have what I call the legend in English, this little slope thing that's right here with all these little shapes. That's what's describing the aspects. That's what all the lines are that you see in the middle. And then the smaller legend is the elements and modalities legend. So today, with what we go through, we're going to look at the sun, moon, rising, and then elements. So we will be using this little elements legend that you're going to have at the bottom right? And then we're going to look for the sun, the moon, and the rising in the chart. And that's all we're going to cover just to keep it super basic and get your foundations. Yeah, of course, if you have any questions about anything, you can let me know after. But this is sort of like step one of the process that you need to do before we go on to the next step. So, starting with the four elements. So, as I'm talking, you can feel free to like journal with these little prompts here. You can also totally do these after. If you're watching the recording, you can pause and, put music on and go through these, do like journaling. So the four elements are really interesting to look at because all of the zodiacs will belong in, like, if we look at these as four categories, like every zodiac is in one of these four categories. And so the way I learned astrology was learning the elements first, but then also I learned how we can connect the elements throughout our day to sort of feel really balanced and then throughout our life. So I'll give those two examples as well. So, and I do them specifically in this order as well when I talk about them for this sort of like reason of how we go through them in the day and in our life. So, starting with water. So, if you have a lot of planets in water, and as I'm saying this, you maybe you don't know how many things you have in water, but just sort of see if you connect to just the keywords that I'm sort of saying and write things down. So, do you feel connected to your intuitive senses, your intuition, your emotional self? Um, do you feel like you have a lot of feelings? You get overcome with emotion. Maybe you cry easily. You get gut feelings. You tend to want to be like very nurturing. You love like plants, animals, energy, all that kind of stuff. That would be, or even just when it comes to water, I always say like you like to be near water or like in water in some way, whether it be like a lake or ocean or even just taking baths. Like it just feels like very calming to be actually around the physical element of water. So just sort of jotting that down, what comes up for you, if you feel connected to it, maybe you don't at all, maybe sometimes, maybe at a different point in your life. All this information is just like good to jot down before we get into your chart. Then we look at air. So air is, I always like to compare it to like wind outside. It can kind of go in different directions. It can change really easily. So it's sort of like your mind and your thoughts, how you talk, how you write, what you want to learn. If you really like learning, if you have like lots of curiosity, lots of questions for things, you like to communicate a lot, talk a lot, that would be an indication of a lot of air. Very like social and like curious about people and why people do things that they do. But then I always bring it back to the wind of like it blows one way and then it blows the other way. And the if you have a lot of air, a person could just like easily switch directions and flow and in that way. And then air can sometimes be the most detached from things because it's kind of just like floating. So it's very, very opposite to what water, if water is like we're in our body, we're feeling all the emotions, and air is just sort of like over here questioning everything, very detached from topics. Like there's a different perspective from it. Um, so just taking a moment to pause and write down how you connect with that. And then I do find that everybody will like one of the elements the most, or maybe two of them. And then there's always one that you may not connect with the most, or you have trouble connecting with it, or you're like, oh, yeah, I do need to do more of those things. There's always like what we call like the a dominant element and then a not so dominant element, the lowest element. And then the goal is always to find a balance between all of these. But um, yeah. But I after this, I don't know if I didn't say it. There's a quiz and then we look at your chart. So there's a few different ways I like to approach the elements to just give a few different perspectives. So moving on to Earth. So Earth is um your routines, your habits, things that ground you, like maybe it's your work. I don't necessarily, it could still, let's say, be like your job, and earth can be like the money you earn and your income and like anything that you're building, any structures and systems you have in your life, organizing your physical sense of like things you have and feeling like that's all situated. But Earth, the easiest way to describe Earth is it's like your job and money, but it's not necessarily just like a job that you have. Earth is like how you're helping, how you're of service, like why you're like here, and it's like in some way connected to your purpose overall. But it's that thing that kind of like drives and motivates you. And then I always say it's like what you're building, and I use the word like legacy, but it's like what you're building and working towards like step by step. That's Earth. The older I get, the more I appreciate Earth and I like it, and it's good to feel grounded. Um, then the last element is fire. So fire is our passions, our creativity, getting out there, socializing, having fun, connecting with people. If you have a lot of fire in your chart, it gives off big like life of the party energy. But you just want to have fun and move your body and move your energy. Um, if we think of a fire, how it like gets bigger and like feeds itself and keeps growing. If you have a lot of fire, you'll feel like there's something inside of you that as you move, you get more energy from doing things. Um, but it is like the fun side of things. So yeah, my personal reflection with all the elements is fire is my lowest, and then air is my highest, and then I have a lot of water, and then I feel like my earth has steadily grown as I've gone into astrology. So over the last 7 years, like 7 years ago, I would have been like, no, I don't like earth. That's boring, but it's kind of gone up. But fire is part of in my chart purpose of like what I'm here to learn and cultivate. And I naturally just am in the air and water all the time. Um, Teaching, writing, trying to put words to emotions and share things through different writings. Or in the past, I've written a poetry collection, and I have also written a book. So it's that, and all my books are like a blue green in color. Um, which is the water. So yeah, just taking a moment to maybe reflect on how you feel about all of these. And then we're going to move into my little thing that I was taught, because I think it gives a good example of how we tap into these in a day and then in our life. So, and the reason I have it in this order. So water is the first thing I think we go to in the morning. Like when we wake up in the morning, our first instinct I always feel is to go to the bathroom, whether it be like to go to the bathroom, to shower, to brush our teeth, wash our face. Like we're going to water. And then after you do that, maybe it's like you drink water. We need to start hydrating, right? So I like to think that there's something in that. Like we go to the stillness, the alone time first. Like we need a moment to ourselves in the morning to kind of like reset from being asleep. And then we move into air. We start to connect with the people that we live with. If we live with other people, talking starts happening, sharing different things are happening. You feel like, oh, a to-do list is starting, you have things to do. Maybe you look at your phone, maybe in the morning, like you read the paper or the book, but you start collecting information and like you go to the mind. And then once you're done sort of your morning routine, most people then start their like day, which is connected to work, but it could be like whatever you're doing that day. It's normally connected to being of service, whether you're volunteering, whether you're going to a job outside the house, whether you're staying at home to work at home, whether you are with your kids all day. Like there's a sense of like that you're needed for something, you're working and something is being built. And then at the end of the day, we tap into fire. So we tap into that sort of fun, okay, what do I do? I've worked all day. What do I want to do that's really fun? This could be just like relaxing. This could be going out. This could be going to a yoga or fitness class after work. Like, what is something you're going to do? Um, it could be just going to like a social event. Like I'm thinking like paint night, dance class, like something just fun that you do. And obviously it might not be every night that you do this, but it's like, how do you unwind after a long day type thing? And that's the fire. So that's like one way I like to look at it. And then another way I like to look at it is a human, like our lives. So the way my astrology teacher taught it was we start in the womb, which is like a very dark place, stillness, quiet, and there's a fluid of sorts in the womb. Then we are born, and from like birth until our early 20s, we are like in that learning stage. Everything is new to us. When you're really little, you're always asking why about everything. Your brain is like a sponge absorbing everything and you have to learn how to do a lot of things, and which is like air. It's the mind. It's the learning. And then let's say in your 20s, you're like done school, and obviously you can do education whenever in your life, but you're done school and like because school is your focus for a lot of your life when you're younger, because that's part of your routine is going to school. Then when you're in your 20s, you're done school, you start your earth cycle and your goal is to work. They tell you you need to go and work, you need to go get a job, you need to earn money to provide for yourself. So then you do that for a lot of your life. And then the way I was taught this is when you retire, that's like the fire time. That's when you're supposed to go have fun and travel, be adventurous, go do stuff, and you don't have to work anymore and just having fun and being in fire. Now, this is like kind of the typical way society has us do things. And a few years ago, I would have just said that little thing and been like, yep, that's the way it's supposed to be. But the way I kind of look at it is definitely the water in womb and then air we're learning. That kind of makes sense. But the earth and fire part, I do think there needs to be more balance. We're like expecting someone to work for like 40 years and then just have fun for like however long. It doesn't really make sense. I think they can coincide with each other where, maybe you're working 30 hours a week, not 40, and you're giving yourself that balance to go out and have fun and do other things that you enjoy and explore hobbies and passions and not just be working all the time. And maybe you work a little longer, but you're still having fun or your work feels fun or something. But I feel like the earth and fire need to balance while we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, not just like work, then fun. I think they can both coincide together. But it is kind of a cool way to look at your life in a sense with the elements and how they can play a role in our day to day and over time. So now I'm just going to give you a moment to pause to do the quiz. So I love this quiz. I've made my own version of it. My astrology teacher that I learned from had a quiz, so I do my own little version. Um, you just sort of read the prompts. I'll leave this here for a few minutes, or if you're watching the recording, you can pause and check off what is true to you and just kind of total it up at the bottom out of 8. Each one is 8. And we'll look at this first. So right now, hopefully you already have a sense of what element you like the most. And then you'll maybe look at these questions and check, or not questions, you'll look at this quiz and you'll check off what feels good for you in all of them, look at your totals, and then compare what you were drawn to naturally, what the quiz results are. Then we're going to look at your chart and see what the chart has to say. And neither one of these sort of 3 methods is right or wrong. It's just kind of 3 different perspectives, but it is really cool when they all kind of line up the same. They're all giving the same result. You're being guided toward like one specific element. So just give a moment here for water and air. Sometimes I feel like I should put music on, but I don't want to have to go into the Zoom settings. Um, I haven't done this in a while. I also would recommend like you can in the workbook that you have here, it's always nice to like reflect and go back and see, but then do this again a few years from now because the answers might change. I always get like all for the water. And then for air, I get a 7 out of 8. And then I will go to the earth and fire. I'll do this too, kind of in my head while everyone's doing it. I think this is my first time where I've actually looked at all the earth questions and I'm like, wow, I think I answered like all of them. But that's never been a thing before. So this is this thing where I'm connecting to earth. Fire, I get like 4. It's my lowest. So next, I'm just going to scroll back up to the chart that I had to give the example. This is where you look at your chart. I'm going to do a little zoom in here. So the next step here is you can do this on the paper with the journal prompts or just anywhere where you have room to write down. We go into this little legend here and ignore the part where it says CFM. We're not going to look at that today. We're going to look at the FAEW. Now, this is in like a different order I've been explaining this in, but we go water, air, earth, fire. And I should also mention just in general that like um, air and fire would be what I call the more yang or masculine type energies. And it just means they're more in the doing, like they're more of a higher energy octave, basically. And in astrology, when if you go deeper in it, air and fire tend to just vibe really well together. And so if you have both those elements within you, a lot of them, you're just like, it's harmonious, it's vibing. Then if we look at like water and earth, they're more the yin, the softer, slower pace of things, not like they're it's calmer energy. And so if you have a lot of earth and water in you, they will vibe really well together as well. And I can share the different combinations. Like water and fire can be very like they're both very emotional, but different ways. And then air and earth can both in common be like detached from things. And it's not a bad or a good thing. They just can be detached from things, like see a different perspective. But earth is changing direction a lot, and or no, air is changing direction a lot, and the earth sign is like, okay, you need to ground. So you have something that's like in the ground is rooted and something that's sort of like floating. So, but it doesn't matter. Like all the elements can get along whether or not. Like we all will have like most of them in our, like all of them in our chart in some way. And then just even getting along with other people, like you will find commonalities in everything, but earth and water tend to be like best friends, and then like fire and air tend to be best friends. Um, yeah. So this is where I'm gonna have you kind of like ignore, because we're saying like just beginners here. Ignore what the little shapes kind of look like and what, and that little part of curiosity in your brain that's gonna be like, oh, what does that mean? No, we're not gonna go into that. You're just gonna count the little things. So I would look at this, and I'm gonna just do it in the order I've been doing it with water first. So I would count here and go, okay, I have 2 water. Cool, I'm right down 2. Then I'd go to air. I'd be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 air. Okay, write that down. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 earth. I have 4 earth. And I have 3 fire. And I write that down. So this is where I'd like you to do this as well. Looking at your elements legend, writing that down, and just comparing the kind of order of this compared to the quiz. So for me, I have a 5, 4, 3, 2. So I would order it like, okay, I have air, earth, fire, water. But the way in the quiz for me, it goes water, earth, air, fire, but fire is like a lot lower than the rest of them. And so um it's just sort of like two different perspectives there, but air tends to be it's my highest element in my chart. Um and it used to be the highest element when I did the quiz, but we change and evolve. And that's why it's cool to always look at the quiz and even just kind of like in your head, just kind of quickly do it and think, okay, like what has changed? But these little guys here in your um, elements legend, these will not change, like these particular planets, unless you go into the deep, deep advanced settings, which we're not looking at today because this is like layer 1 of astrology. If you go deep, deep in the settings, you can add more little things here. They're not planets. You can add like asteroids and different things. It would fill this up more, but if we just look at our basics here, it's like this is what we have. So you can share in the chat, or you can like share with me after what you've kind of discovered with the elements, and what you're connecting with the most, what your highest element is. And yeah, okay. So that is part 1 of this. So I will move to just scroll back down. So I have 2 things on here. I have a planets key, and I have a zodiac key, and then I have sentence starters for you. So I kind of say it's like fill in the blank little thing, where essentially we're breaking down the astrological language into English so that you can better understand your placements. So I'm going to briefly go over what sun, moon, rising are, and then I will show you where to find them in your chart, and then give you a moment to write down what your sun, moon, and rising mean for you in astrology, but then the English version to help you kind of understand them more and have some takeaways for today in addition to the elements. So the sun and the moon are the first 2 places I think most people look at when they go into astrology. I first got into astrology through a workshop in my yoga teacher training, and it was about sun, moon, rising. And I just knew my sun sign. So sun sign is another word for like your zodiac sign. So what zodiac season you were born in. And I I'm a Gemini. So like I always knew I was a Gemini. That's all I knew. I resonated with a lot of it, but there were some things I didn't. And truthfully, when you just know your zodiac sign, aka your sun sign, you're kind of just putting yourself in a box. And it's like that's fine if you're okay with that, but I think that humans are like way too complicated to just be like one thing. And if you've seen the chart, there's like all these things and all these layers to the chart, just like there are lots of layers to people. So like that's like it reflects pretty well. So when we look at the sun, it's the first thing people know, just with like the horoscope pop culture thing. Um, but looking at the moon is like I think one of the most important places to look because your sun is like you can see the words there, your personality, how you shine, your identity, your energy day to day. It might be like how the people closest to you, like your friends, like the energy. I'm going to say again the word the vibe that you give off, things that interest you. Like it's just this energy that you have kind of innately in you. But if you want to go like deep into it, your moon is that internal world. It's what you need at the end of the day to feel completely satisfied with the day, with your life. And so I don't want to say that your sun sign is like surface level, but if somebody doesn't know you that well, they're going to know your sun sign energy. And if someone knows you really, really well, they're going to know your moon sign, but only the people closest to you will know your moon sign. And then you will know it. Um, and it's a great place to look at when cultivating some deep self-awareness into what are some things that you like actually really need. So, what else do I have written there? Yeah, it's like how you feel, how you express emotion, but kind of like what you need, how you want to nurture yourself. Um, like as a Gemini, that's my sun sign. I love teaching. I love, learning new things. And I started a new course this weekend. Like I love to be teaching and learning, like being a student and a teacher, because I feel like they go hand in hand. Um, I love doing all that. And I like to do those things, but my like true need at the end of the day is that like I had alone time and I had a something creative attached to it. So my moon is in Pisces. And so I need sort of that space to unwind by myself, clear off like everyone else's energy to just be with mine and then be creative in some way, right? Whether that's like writing or dance or whatever the heck I end up doing. But um, yeah, that to me is like more important than like me like learning something. Hopefully that makes sense. Um, yeah. So that's the sun and moon. And you can kind of even look at how your sun and moon go together. Um, because it's like kind of two different sides of you per se, right? Then we have the rising sign, which isn't a planet. It's just it's the sign that was on the horizon when you were born. Every day this is changing every like 2.5 hours, depending on like where you're located in the world. So having your birth time is very important for the rising. Your sun and your moon, you just need to know the day. The time does help though with everything in astrology, but the rising sign, like 100%, we need the birth time to pick this out. I like to say rising sign. It is officially called the ascendant, or it might look like AC on your chart. But I like to say rising. Rising sign is the sign I see you're like rising into. It is the perspective of how you see the world and maybe how the world sees you. It can just sort of it sets up all your houses in your chart, which we're not talking about today, but it sets up your view. I'm doing hand motion. Sets up your view of everything. It can describe your like I have written down physical appearance, body type, but it can describe the style you have, the colors you like to wear. Um, and it just yeah, I sometimes like say it's the glasses you put on. And again, it's like your perspective of things. So like I am a Cancer rising, so I say I wear like extra protection safety glasses, and my view of everything is through safety. Like safety is my number one priority at all times for me and the people closest to me. I carry everything I would need in my purse, and it's a small purse, but I have everything in there I would need when I leave my house because like my home is my shell. It's where I feel safe. Cancer is the crab. So when I leave the house, I need to make sure that I have like everything just in case, right? For safety. So I have anything you need there for being a woman with feminine hygiene products. I have like Advil just in case someone gets a headache. I have an emergency snack. I have gum, hair elastics, chapsticks. I have crystals for protection. Obviously, wallet, phone, keys. I think I have a hairbrush in there too, and like clips with the hair elastics. I think I have like throat lozenges just in case something happens. Is there anything else? The emergency snack is like the most important thing. And I've been like known for when I used to go into the like into Toronto, into the city with my friend. And I don't know, one day she was just like, "Oh, I'm really hungry." And there was just like a delay in transit. And I was like, "Don't worry, I have my emergency snack." And it's for like those moments. It's almost like when you have a kid and you have like the diaper bag and you have like everything in there you just in case the kid needs something. It's like that's how I think, but I'm like doing that for myself and like whoever I'm like out with. Yeah, that's how my rising sign comes in. It's just like my perspective. I'm like, yeah, you know what? You can never be too safe. So that's how it comes through for me. So that's my sun, moon, rising example. So if you have any questions, please share them. But I'm going to go to the chart and we're going to look for these symbols here. So we're going to look for the sun, the moon, and the rising. And then I'm going to have you write it down on this sheet, not this one. So you're going to write down the zodiac sign that it's in, and then we can go on to the next step. But to find your sun sign, you look for the circle with the dot, or I like it's a circle with a dot, yes, but I say it looks like a boob. So you can look for the boob. And then the moon crescent, it's like that's the moon crescent. And then the AC, it's always going to be on the left-hand side of your chart, and it's going to be like a bolded line. I will show you in here. So see this bolded line here, and it's like AC. And then what you would do is you would write down AC, it's here. So I look for the little icon and I go, okay, that I know that that's Cancer. If you have any question on what it is, it's down here. It says a number. Don't think of the number. It says can, and then that would be for Cancer. So the next I'm going to go looking for the boob, the circle with the dot. I'm like, okay, here it is. Follow the tick. Okay, this. What the heck is this? I don't know what this is. I know this is Gemini, but I'd go down and I'd be like, okay, circle with the dot, gem. Okay, cool. Write that down. So look for your sun sign. And then, oh, here's the moon crescent on this side of the chart. Okay, it's in this one. Okay, I don't know what that is. Moon PIS, Pisces. I will do a quick overview for you just in case you're looking and you're like, what the hell is this sign? So the top here, the horns, we start with the red horns always, Aries. Beside that, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn. This Capricorn symbol will look different sometimes on different chart software. I don't know why. Aquarius, Pisces. So hopefully that covers all of that. So you know which signs your sun and moon are in, and the ascendant, the rising. But always know you can go down to as it's labeled, the legend in English. So now, if you have that written down, I'll bring you to, I gotta zoom out again. Okay. We're gonna do our sentences. And as you're writing your sentences, you can feel free to share them in the chat or send them to me after if you're watching the replay. So I would put here, my sun is in the sign of Gemini, my moon is in the sign of Pisces, my rising sign is in the sign of Cancer. If you do not have your birth time, Um, just don't do the rising sign one, but really just hone in on your sun and moon, right? Like your inner outer kind of vibe that's happening here. So all you have to do is fill in the blanks here and add some words. And if you don't know any words for the signs, I have a zodiac key here um, for all the signs and different words. If you need more words, let me know. Um, but yeah, you just pick the words that resonate the most here and you fill in the blanks. I will do an example just because I find examples are always pretty helpful. So I have here my personality is, so I go to Gemini. And you can listen to me doing this, or you could totally can just do your own thing here. But so my personality is the communicator. Super simple. Okay, cool. I shine at overthinking. That could be like a big joke, but um, and I say astrology, we keep it very like empowering, but we can say that's a little joke for myself. And then I am known for teaching or being like a lifelong learner. Like instead of the word student there, we could say lifelong learner. For Gemini, I could also say I'm known for asking lots of questions. I shine at asking why because I like to do that. Those are just some examples. Um, so for the moon, I'm just gonna keep doing mine as you do yours. Just keep the flow of things. Put any questions in the chat. So my moon is in the sign of Pisces. So my emotional body responds sensitively or intuitively. You can also like, to kind of change the words a little bit to fit, or creatively. All of those work, honestly. My inner world needs silence. That's not there, but silence, or it needs mysticism, right? I love the astrology. And then I feel comforted by creativity, dreaming, alone time, just throwing in more words there. And then I can do this pretty fast because I've done this before for myself and I've taught this a bunch of times. If you are struggling on how to put sentences together, don't overthink it. Put down a word, and if it fits, it fits. And if you read it back and you're like, no, that's not really what I am, just get rid of it, do a different word, right? Because I have watched some people do this workshop and they struggle with what to put down. They don't know what to put down. But I always say that like I can assist by providing more words, but really like you're with yourself every day. You know yourself better than anyone, whether you believe it or not. And you're the best person to fill out these sentences, right? Like I can throw out a bunch of words connected to the zodiac archetypes, but like I think we all know our own selves the best personally, or that's what we're striving to do with this type of work with astrology for self-awareness. So I'll keep going, but don't let how fast I put these things together affect anything. This is just because I live and breathe the astrology. So the last one here, my rising sign is in the sign of Cancer. So my perspective is, where is it? Safety. Um, my identity can be tied to, we could say nurturing. Um, and then my soul feels emotional. Another word I could put here for Cancer is like my soul feels protective. Or something, yeah, protective. Like some other words, like in case you need them as you're going through this. For Aries, I have warrior, initiator, forward thinker, leader, feisty, passionate, um, head first, bold, right? Taurus, the sensualist, practical, reliable, stubborn, grounded, loving, caring, kind. There's some other words for you. Gemini, we have communicator, teacher, student, overthinker. Um, what did I say? Asking why, questioning, lifelong learner. Um, always has, these aren't specific words, but always has lots of like facts and information to share. Um, friend, stuff with social media, even connecting, the phone calls, texting, talking. Cancer, the healer, the nurturer, the mother, motherly, emotional, safety, security, protective, um, soft, sensitive, kind, intuitive, gut feelings. Leo, we have the performer, loyal, creative, fun. I have bossy in there, but it's like the leader. Friendly, maybe stubborn. We could say rooted in strong beliefs. Um, like very inclusive. Leo likes to include everyone. Nobody should feel left out. Lots of the leading to include type thing. Um, Virgo, we have the analyst, helping, organized, perfectionist, wanting to be of service, feeling grounded, um, can spot like Virgo energy can spot the gaps and they know how to help to fill in the details, right? Um, Libra, we have the diplomat, harmony, balance, relationships, both sides, scales, justice. Scorpio, we have detective, desire, power, alchemist, deep dive, um, intimacy, like psychology with Scorpio. What else? Um, Mystical thing, like not mystical, like metaphysical, tarot, like that kind of stuff. Sagittarius, we have the philosopher, the big thinker, visionary, adventurous. Um, they question things too, like Gemini's, but a little differently. Big, or have big thinker there. Big picture, traveling, new perspectives. Capricorn, the CEO, disciplined, all business, provider, worker. And when I say CEO, it can be CEO of a business, CEO of yourself, CEO of the household. You're just like, Capricorns are like in charge, responsibility, accountability, all those things. They kind of just take it upon themselves. Um, Aquarius, we have words, you can use words like rebel, technology, humanitarian, detached, groups, community, again with that inclusive, like new ideas, all that. And then with Pisces, we have dreaming, creativity, mystical, sensitive, intuitive. Um, Other side, other realms, spirit, soulful, all that. So if you want, you don't have to. You can share some of your sentences in the chat or you can send them to me after. And there's no wrong way to do this. I should have said at the beginning, there's no wrong way to do this. These are about you. Only you sort of know the answer that makes sense, right, for you. But there's no wrong way to fill this out. You can have fun with it, but I do like to keep it empowering. I did a little joke there about overthinking as a Gemini, but um, I do also teach and practice mindfulness because I know that I have that quality in me, right? So it's like with these sentences that you write down, like maybe what are some things? I mean, maybe just sitting, holding it within, reflecting on it might be a good thing to do. But if you're like, oh, I wrote that down, but I'm not doing that, like what's an action step I can take to help my inner world, like one of the questions, right? Like if your inner world really needs creativity and you're not doing that for yourself, what's something you could do, right? That's how we can apply this astrology. Um, but yeah, hopefully you have received something from this workshop of new information. And yeah, I'm excited to see your sentences. And if you do want to share, you can, and you don't have to. It's completely optional, the sharing. And if you have any questions, please let me know. You can always email me and I'll answer any question that you have. And if you want to learn next steps of what to do after sun, moon, rising, I can also share those But I say, like, let this information sit and marinate and see what comes of it. And the next step exists here if you want to know what it is, the next step of things to learn. And I'll be happy to share that with you. So thank you so much for joining this workshop. And I'll stop the recording now and we can share any questions that we have off the recording.